Welcome to the Raid Perspective Guide to the Protection Paladin and the combat table in 5.2. The combat table has changed significantly since the release of Mists of Pandaria, and as such I thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and review how it works now. So let's start with the basics. Whenever something swings at you for a physical hit, there is a randomly generated number between 0.01 and 100. Now, depending on where this number lands, the result will change. So this is a look at a freshly dinged level 90 Paladin, and the stats we're looking at are in relation to a level 90 target. So you'll have an innate 3% chance for your target at level 90 to miss you. Next on the table is dodge. You have a 3% chance to dodge, and with the passive Sanctuary by speccing Protection, you gain 2% additional chance to dodge. As you can see, these avoidance stats slowly expand across the combat table. Parry's next. You have a 3% chance to parry. Due to your base strength value, which depends on which race you've selected, you'll also gain a small amount of parry on top of the base 3%. Additional strength found on gear will convert to parry rating. If the random number generated for the combat table is on miss, dodge, or parry, you'll completely avoid the attack. In Cataclysm, it was possible to completely cover the combat table with miss, dodge, parry, and block, but now if you don't miss, dodge, or parry, then you'll move to a second combat table that just has block or hit. This table has the same constraints as the first. The roll will be between 0.01 and 100. Paladins have a 3% chance to block. Of course, this requires shields. Now if they spec into Protection, they'll gain 10% from Guarded by the Light and an additional 8% from their base Mastery. Now I don't actually know where the additional 0.52% chance to block comes from on the character sheet. If anyone knows, go ahead and leave a comment below. It'd be nice to know. At any rate, you've probably figured out at this point that the block chance is going to be between 0.01 and 21.52 as a base value without any gear. Of course, you do need a shield to actually block. Now, when you actually do block a physical attack, the damage will be reduced by 30%, unless you have the metagem that increases your block value by 1%, but really you should be going for the stamina and armor, as that's always valuable and you won't always block. If an attack isn't blocked, it's a hit, and I'll go to explain how damage is actually resolved if it's blocked or if it's hit in another video. But I want to explain more about the combat table, and especially about how it changes as you fight higher level targets. Now it's important to understand that your character sheet will display your avoidance stats and your mitigation stats in a way that's representative of what it would be like if you were fighting a level 90 mob. Back during the Mists of Pandaria beta, Ghostcrawler made a post clarifying how avoidance and mitigation diminish as you fight higher level monsters. So going back and taking a look at our fresh level 90 with no gear, you can see the stats that we're going to have versus another level 90. Now for every level higher the target that we're attacking is, we lose 1.5% miss, 1.5% dodge, 1.5% parry, and 1.5% block. So this shows what your avoidance and mitigation would be against a level 91. Now if we bump that up to a level 92, you'll see that miss has been just knocked off the table, so they can no longer miss us, but we've still got a little bit of dodge, and just we're hanging on to a tiny shred of parry that we have from our base strength. And finally, versus a level 93 raid boss, we're just going to have a sliver of dodge left, very little block, and these are our base stats with no gear. Now this is just something you need to keep in mind when you're actually going through and calculating how much dodge, parry, and block you really have versus a boss. Now with each of your avoidance and mitigation stats, there's certain combat ratings. So these are the stats you find on your gear. Now to get 1% parry, or dodge, or mastery, you'll need approximately the amount of rating that's listed here. Now these values aren't static. 600 mastery is not always going to give you 1% chance to block. This is called a diminishing return. The idea is that as you invest combat rating into any of these stats, they'll continue to be about the same value throughout. Now strength will convert to a parry rating percentage as it's listed here, but this value is actually going to be diminished a little bit because of Blessings of Kings or Mark of the Wild, which will give you 5% stats. So that'll increase your strength and reduce the amount of strength you actually need per percent of parry. The diminishing returns on parry and dodge are very different. We scale really well with parry. We'll get it from strength and on our gear, and it's going to diminish at a much slower rate than dodge is. As such, you can expect to have about 2 or 3 times as much parry on your gear than dodge. And if you want to get into the math and the formulas, I've got some links down and below for some theory crafting websites. You can figure out how that all actually works. Now in 5.2, dodge and parry are going to be slightly more valuable because Grand Crusader is being changed a little bit to give you a 12% chance when you either dodge or parry an attack to proc the effect. This change alone isn't enough for people to abandon haste control strategies or mastery control strategies, but it's a benefit if you're going for a more traditional tanking stat. Now I'll leave you with a final thought on mastery. Every 1% of mastery increases the damage reduction of Shield of the Righteousness by 1% and the effectiveness of Bastion of Glory by 1%. But you must reach the 1% threshold, so if you had 17.5%, that for instance wouldn't give you any more than 17%. So something to keep in mind when figuring out mastery. However, the block chance will go to the decimal points. And that'll be it for me. I hope you guys got some understanding of the combat table from this video, and thanks for watching.